Everything you need to know about the Tulsa Remote Program that's paying $10,000 for you to relocate to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome back to my friends. And if you are new here, hey, new friend, my name is Labria Jones. I talk about travel, remote work, working while travel, productivity, and pretty much any general lifestyle things that showcase my journey to living a more fulfilled life and becoming my best self in the hope that it does the same for you. And today, I am going to tell you everything that you need to know about the Tulsa Remote Program. I do want you to know that my friends at Tulsa Remote are sponsoring this video. So thank you, Tulsa Remote. But let's talk about it. First of all, what is the Tulsa Remote Program? Tulsa Remote is a unique recruiting initiative aimed at attracting and retaining remote workers to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is a community based program bringing remote workers to live, work, and grow in Tulsa. It was started in 2018 and it is funded by the George Kaiser Foundation as well as the Oklahoma Remote Quality Jobs Incentive Act. And again, it's been around since 2018. What the program offers is $10,000, as I mentioned, but it offers more than that. They also offer 36 months membership to a co-working space called 36 Degrees North. So you get $10,000 plus 3 years membership to 36 Degrees North. You also have access to community-based activities and events, and you get access to wellness benefits as well. Not to mention the amazing community that Tulsa Remote has built and continued to nurture. I am still a part of that community. Okay, let's talk about eligibility. How are you eligible to apply for Tulsa Remote? In order to be eligible for Tulsa Remote, you have to, one, be 18 or older. So if you're 18 or older, you are eligible. The second part of eligibility is you can't have lived in the state of Oklahoma for the last year. So you can't currently live in the state of Oklahoma, or if you moved out, you can't have lived there in the last year. The third eligibility requirement is you have to have a remote job. You have to work remotely. Now, you can work remotely for a company or you can work remotely for yourself, as long as you basically have full-time remote employment. What if you live outside of the US? Are you eligible? Well, as long as you are able to work inside the US, meaning you have citizenship or an HB1 visa that says that yes, you can work in the United States, then you are also eligible. So that's eligibility. Let's talk about the application process. Now, the application process has changed a bit since I joined Tulsa Remote. It's much more fancy and streamlined. It looks really good, but it is very straightforward. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what you'll see in the application process. First of all, they're going to ask you eligibility questions up front. We're going to get that out of the way. If you're not eligible, we want to go ahead and tell you, right? It's definitely efficient. So they ask you the initial eligibility questions, and those basically mirror what I said earlier about eligibility. They ask you how old you are, they ask you if you currently work remotely, if you've ever lived in Oklahoma, things like that. The next few sections of the application process are based on work, social, and community. And so, starting with work, they're going to ask you things like what kind of work do you do? Are you self employed or do you work W-2 for a company? And ask you a few other questions about work, what industry you work in. And of course, you're going to have to provide proof of income. Okay, I can't give you any guidance on how much income you need to make, but in general, understand that the Tulsa Remote Program wants to make sure that you can take care of yourself in Tulsa. Nobody wants you moving to Tulsa and becoming homeless. You don't want that. Your mama don't want that. Your grandmama don't want that. And the people at Tulsa Remote definitely don't want that. Okay. So proof of income is going to be provided just to ensure that you can support yourself in Tulsa. Because while $10,000 is a nice amount of money, it's not enough to live off of for an entire year. Okay. So they do want to make sure that you make enough to support yourself. Okay. Social questions are pretty general. They're going to ask you about the social platforms you are on, how they can hang out with you, how they can kind of get a feel for who you are if you have social platforms and things like that. And then on the community side, you will find that Tulsa Remote is very heavily community based. The underlying theme of everything related to Tulsa Remote is community. They do community so well, and it's something that they spend a lot of time nurturing and promoting and maintaining. Okay, so community is going to be super important and it's part of the application process. They're going to ask you things like if you volunteer, what community organizations you're part of. Now, I'm not saying that there are requirements that you volunteer and that you are part of community based organizations, But if you are, it's good to let them know. They are also going to ask you about how important diversity is for you and how you feel about diversity. The Tulsa Remote Program is very diverse. You've got people from all kinds of backgrounds from all over the world in Tulsa Remote. And so diversity is key. They are also going to ask you who referred you. There's a little box that asks you who referred you. Go ahead and put your girl's name down there because you're watching my video. Obviously, I referred you. Let them know that I sent you. Also, I have a special link that automatically lets them know that I sent you. I'll put that link down in the description box. I will also link it up here or here. I don't remember where it shows on the screen, but I will put that link so that you can let them know that I referred you. I do get credit for that. So please, please, please make sure that they know that I sent you. All right, so once you complete your application, it takes them about 4 weeks to get back to you. I will let you know that the people at Tulsa Remote get a lot of applications. Okay, so give them grace, give them time. It's going to take them about 4 weeks to get back to you. If they want to move forward, you will go into an interview. And the interview is very straightforward. No need to be nervous, no need to be worried. It's just a conversation to see if you are a fit for the community and if this is right for you. It's also your chance to ask questions to find out if it's right for you as well. Okay. A lot of people ask me, what kind of questions are they going to ask in the interview? What should I say in the interview? How should I be prepared for the interview? I really don't think that there's a way to prepare for the interview. I think this interview is really about being authentic and about being yourself. Make sure that you know why you want to do the Tulsa Remote Program. Make sure that you're clear on what you plan to contribute to the community, also what you plan to take from the community as well. I don't think that this is a place to say what you think someone needs to hear. I think this is truly a place where you need to be authentic. Because if it's not a fit, you don't want to end up in Tulsa for a whole year and it wasn't a good fit for you or the Tulsa Remote Program. Okay. So I encourage you to just be yourself, be authentic. There is no silver bullet. If you say this, you're definitely going to get in. It's really about being authentic and having a conversation with a community member so that you guys can decide if Tulsa Remote is right for you. That's it. All right, so let's say you make it through the interview process and you get accepted. When they send you an offer, you can then accept the offer. Once you do that, you have 12 months to move to Tulsa. You don't have to move to Tulsa right away. It's not like you go through the interview and you got to pack up your stuff and get the heck out and get to Tulsa within 30 days or 60 days. You have an entire year. Moving your entire life is a lot of work, and these folks understand that. And so they're giving you 12 months. Additionally, on top of that, they're actually giving you the opportunity to come and visit Tulsa and check it out for yourself before you make your final decision to move. You can do a Tulsa visit. There are two types of Tulsa visits. You can do an individual visit, which is you're doing this on your own. You come there, you plan out your stuff, you hang out with people, you connect with folks, and you can go look at for apartments and you can get a feel for the community as well. If you do an individual visit, you'll get reimbursed $500. You can also sign up for a hosted visit as well. Now, this didn't exist when I was in Tulsa Remote, so I'm a little bit jealous, but the hosted visits are really cool because a lot of people are coming at the same time. So you get to have a cohort of people that are considering moving to Tulsa at the very same time. You guys can ask each other questions. You can start to build a rapport with people that are considering the program as well. And the Tulsa Remote team organizes activities for you to get to experience the community, meet other Tulsa Remoters and Tulsa Remote alum. They take you on tours of the city, they take you to nice dinners and do some networking stuff. So you can also do a hosted visit as well. Now, I mentioned being able to connect with people in Tulsa Remote before you even get there. How are you going to do that? Once you get invited into the program, you also get added to the Tulsa Remote Slack. And there is a wealth of information, almost too much information, but there is a wealth of information in the Tulsa Remote Slack. There's multiple channels in the Slack. There's channels for housing. You can also look at the housing channel so that you get information about landlords that are in Tulsa Remote who have places to rent. Also, information about real estate agents in Tulsa in case you want to buy, as well as apartment complexes and what people think and where people live. And so you get all of that information available to you after you get accepted into the program. But what about the money? How do I get the money, Livria? How do I get the money? Let's talk about the money. I get it. Like, that's the most important thing. Let's get to it. So, there are two ways to get the $10,000 that Tulsa Remote offers. You can get it in a lump sum or you can get it in installments. And that is dependent upon how you decide to do your housing. Let me break this down. First, let's talk about the monthly installments. The monthly installments are broken down so that you get $3,000 upfront for moving expenses. And then you get $500 a month every single month, and then at your last month, you get $1,500. And that is the monthly stipend. If you rent, your disbursement is paid in that way. So if you decide to rent, you get monthly installments. Okay. If you decide to purchase a house, you get the full $10,000 once you close on your house. Or if you were doing monthly installments and then you buy a house, you get the remainder of your program benefit after you close on your house. Let me run that back. If you decide to rent, you will get a disbursement monthly. At the beginning, you'll get $3,000 to cover your moving expenses. Then you'll get $500 a month, and then $1,500 your last and final month. If you purchase a house, you get the full $10,000 or the remainder of your program benefit when you purchase the house. Now, to unlock the program benefit, you have to do your orientation. I purchased a house before I even moved to Tulsa. I purchased a house sight unseen. I totally trusted my real estate agent, who I was connected to through another Tulsa remoter via Slack. Actually, I think my real estate agent was a Tulsa remoter as well. She was amazing. She is amazing. She still lives in Tulsa. Happy to connect you guys. Anyway, I purchased my house before I moved to Tulsa. I did my orientation, I want to say on a Wednesday, and by Friday or Monday, I had my $10,000 deposited to my bank account. So your disbursement is unlocked by completing your orientation. Now, I did say you get $3,000 for moving expenses. That does mean that you are being reimbursed for those moving expenses. Just beware of that. Okay, so the requirements of the program are pretty straightforward. You do have to live in the city of Tulsa. You have to live within the city limits of Tulsa, or as we could call it, Tulsa proper. There are suburbs, just like with any other city. There's Jinx, there's Bixby, there's multiple other suburbs outside of the city of Tulsa. But to be eligible for this program and to continue to be eligible for the program throughout your program year, you do have to reside inside the city of Tulsa. But let's talk about throughout the year. Let's talk about throughout your year in Tulsa Remote. What do people do? What do people do in Tulsa? If you come from a really big city like New York or LA or Atlanta, that might be a concern for you. Like, what do people do? I will tell you straightforwardly, it is not Atlanta, it is not New York, it is not Miami. It is not a small town, it's not a big city either, right? And there are things to do. First of all, Tulsa Remote itself hosts events almost every week. Almost every week. I mean, it's insane how many events are happening. I swear, like, if you do all of the Tulsa remote activities, you'll never be home. I tell people all the time, like, if you're bored in Tulsa, it's because you're boring. There's plenty of things happening. So the Tulsa Remote Program itself is hosting activities and events almost weekly. And a weekly newsletter comes out every Monday or Tuesday that talks about what's happening in the week. The other cool thing is that Tulsa Remote newsletter also talks about other things that are happening within the city. So if there's a band playing or a social organization is hosting something in the city, that's going to be in that newsletter as well. Or if there's a festival or a comedy show or anything going on, that will likely be in the newsletter also. Additionally, 36 Degrees North hosts events as well. So 36 Degrees will post events on a weekly basis. They host all kinds of things like hackathons, they host lunch and learns, they host co-working sessions, they host all kinds of things at 36 Degrees North as well. Not to mention the fact that Tulsa remoters themselves get together and do things on a regular basis. It's nothing for somebody to have a kickback at their house or a meetup at the park. I hosted a brunch party before. I hosted Friendsgiving. Someone else hosted a Christmas party for Tulsa remoters. People host workouts in the park. People host pool parties. There's always something going on. There is always something going on, and it doesn't matter what your interest is. There is always something happening that meet those interests. Not to mention First Fridays and art walks and jazz in the park, and there's a lot. There's always something going on. If you're bored in Tulsa, it's because you're boring. What kind of people do the Tulsa Remote Program? Honestly, every kind of people. Every kind of people do the Tulsa Remote Program. I've met so many interesting people. I think the really cool thing about Tulsa Remote is it is easy to find your tribe, right? It is going to be very easy to find your tribe. And because so many of us are going through the same thing, it's very easy for us to connect with one another because pretty much everybody in the Tulsa Remote Program have has left their town, left their friends, left the places that they've lived for maybe the last 5 to 10 years or even longer to move to a city that they probably never considered living in. And so we all have this similar experience and we're all looking to build community and find people to connect with. And so it actually makes it really beautiful and a lot easier to make adult friends, new adult friends in Tulsa because of that. Additionally, I'd say one of the things that I think is really special about the Tulsa Remote Program is that because of what I just said, the fact that you're going through this new experience, you are very likely to make connections and friends with people that you normally would not have back in your previous city where you were living. I think that we get in these community ruts. We pretty much have this static group of friends, and those are our friends. And we don't tend to go outside of that group of friends. And a lot of times, those friends either look like us, went to the same schools, or worked at the same places. And the beautiful thing about being in Tulsa is that you now are exposed to people you have something in common with that you never would have been friends with, that you may not have ever crossed paths with. But you have this amazing experience and likely a lot of other things in common with this person as well. So I think that's a really, really beautiful thing about this program. I will also mention that there is a huge ecosystem of entrepreneurs in Tulsa as well. And so if it's something that you're interested in pursuing as a side hustle or maybe growing into building your own business, there is an amazing ecosystem in Tulsa that is available to you. But between Act House, Builders and Backers, Build Tulsa, Atento Capital, I mean, there's just so much happening in Tulsa right now, especially around innovation and entrepreneurship. Okay, now let's talk about what Tulsa is like just a little bit. I want to hit on a couple of things. Tulsa is not a small town. I think a lot of people look at Tulsa and they think small town. I'll be honest. Before I got there, I didn't know anything about Tulsa, and my mind went immediately to Oklahoma being a state full of cowboys. I fully rolled up expecting to see people in cowboy hats and boots. And those people exist, but there's all kinds of people in Tulsa. I think that Tulsa is easy. It's an easy place to be. It's pretty chill. There's not this feeling of, go, go, go. There's not this, and not to say that, people move slowly and things don't get done. Things get done. But there's not this high level of anxiety and rushed pace that you see in larger cities. And so there's a sense of calm, I'd say. I'd also say people in Tulsa are ridiculously nice. It's not necessarily Midwest and it's not necessarily the South, but it's got the best of both worlds from a sense of it's got that Southern hospitality and that Midwestern niceness. People are ridiculously nice in Tulsa. That has been my experience, at least. I've met a lot of really nice and kind people in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And what comes to mind for a lot of people is the Tulsa Race Massacre. I'm going to address that. I'm not even going to pretend like that's not a thing that you're probably thinking about, especially if you look like you could be my cousin, right? Tulsa Massacre is definitely something that concerns a lot of people. And something else that concerns a lot of people is that Oklahoma is a red state, right? So these are things that concern people. Tulsa itself, I'd say, if you think about the fact that Georgia is a red state, but Atlanta is a blue city, I'd say apply that to Tulsa. Tulsa does not necessarily represent the state of Oklahoma. As far as the Tulsa Race Massacre goes, that was wildly, wildly horrible point in history. And it's a point that Tulsa, for a very long time, covered up and pretended it didn't happen. And over the last, I'd say, 10 years or so, that history is being dug up and put out on display um, in ways that say, hey, this happened, and let's not pretend it didn't happen so that it doesn't happen anymore. And I think Tulsa, like every city in the United States or most places in the United States, has a long way to go as it relates to atoning. But I'd say it looks like the city is trying. And that's coming from an outsider. I'd encourage you when you come on your visit to talk to people who are actually from Tulsa and get a feel for what their thoughts are on the current state of Tulsa. I felt that it was easy to come there and feel like home. I got to make friends that I never would have made anywhere else. And that's not just in the Tulsa Remote Program, that is with local Tulsans as well. And so I encourage you to come and see for yourself what Tulsa is like. So let's talk about what happens after your year is over. Do they push you out the door? Do you get kicked out of Slack? Are they like, all right, cool, see you later? No, none of that happens. As I mentioned, the Tulsa Remote Program is aimed at attracting and retaining remote workers. So at the end of your year, the only thing that happens is if you were getting monthly disbursements, you don't anymore. You're still a part of Slack. You are still welcome to go to any events. You're basically a Tulsa remoter for life. If I went to Tulsa tomorrow and they were having an event, I would show up and I would still get drink tickets because we are Tulsa remoters for life. And I am still in the Slack channel, although lately I haven't been very active, but you are a Tulsa remoter for life, so nothing happens. You do get invited to an alumni party. So they host an event every year for the alum. They bring together a group of people to celebrate you making it through your year. They have a couple of speakers. There's always food and a couple of drinks. There's always food and drink at Tulsa remote events. So they have this party, and of course, you get a gift. And that is all that happens at the end of your year. After that, you can choose to stay in Tulsa, you can choose to move, but you will be a Tulsa remoter for life. I chose to stay for another year. I want to say another year and a half, I think. I still own a house in Tulsa, and I've been back to Tulsa at least 3 times, and I'm headed back this year as well. I had a great time. I have no regrets. I mean, it's just a really great program. They've been doing it for what, 5, 6 years now, and every year it just gets better and better and better. They just get better and better at running this program, but also nurturing that community. And it's to the point now where I almost wish I had never done it so that I can apply and just do it all over again. But yeah, I suggest that you apply for the program. Even if you're not sure, even if you're just curious, you're thinking, I'm curious. I would just love to, like, see if I can get in this program and then go and do the visit. Keep this in mind. Applying is not a commitment to move, right? Applying is just getting the ball rolling so that if you decide to move, you've already gone through the process. So I encourage you to apply. Use the link in the description box. I will also link it up here in the video as well. But make sure you go ahead and apply. You don't have to be afraid that if I apply, I got to move. You got to make it through the application process first, and then you got to do your visit first. And then you have a whole 12 months to move, okay? So I hope this video was informative and helpful. I want to thank the people at Tulsa Remote for sponsoring this video. If you have any questions about the Tulsa Remote Program that were not answered in this video, please drop them in the comments and I will respond to them as best I can. Thanks for stopping by. I will see you in the next video.